Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissheit, licensed clinical social worker with Terrible and Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very much. And we always like to have my friend and colleague, Mr. Earl Eues, joining us. Hey, Earl, how are you?
Hey, Keith, good to be here. I hope you had a good first weekend of Mardi Gras and a good Valentine's Day.
I had both, and let me tell you why. So, since we are here in the week that we're in, right in the middle of Mardi Gras season, Night to Shine got celebrated this past weekend on Friday night, and it had almost 150 of some of the most beautiful, special people walk down the red carpet. And I am so very excited that HTV was such a part of that, and Pastor Dwayne Bland and all of his crew, Tim Tebow Foundation. It was just wonderful, Tim Tebow Foundation event. And that started off a beautiful weekend. So while other people were experiencing that nice, cool weather at our first parade of the season, I got to spend it with some really special people. And the gifts that they give me are way better than that.
That's great.
Yeah. And I got to spend time with my favorite special person, my wife. We had a nice dinner for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, we did.
How about you and Christy?
Yeah, we did too.
Yeah?
We cooked at home, so
Nice.
do what I like to do. So
Exactly. Very cool. Well, happy beginning of Mardi Gras season, And as we're experiencing it, we kind of standing outside. We notice how windy it is. Look, these winds kind of make a difference for people and how their health kind of gets impacted.
sure, we got a lot of pollen in the air. So it blows a lot of particulate matter around. So, you mentioned before the show the number of people that are having respiratory conditions.
Issues, right.
And, a little bit of flu still going around.
Right.
And then, as usual, we still have COVID.
We do, and it's kind of one of those things where I think people early on, and my first thought process is Friday night I got to be around a lot of very wonderful, beautiful people, but started feeling a little, having some nasal congestion, those kinds of things, first thing Friday evening and Saturday morning. I'm like, okay. First thing I did was take a COVID test. It was negative. Second thing I did was call my doctor about whether or not I needed to be able to get a test for the flu. Did that on Monday. Wasn't COVID, wasn't flu. And so kind of concluded that it's an upper respiratory infection. Got a steroid shot, feeling better, but still kind of nasally.
Right.
Because a lot of these people, I think, are feeling that, Same thing, my mom and dad, same issue. They start feeling a little bad. The first thought is, let's check and see if it is COVID, because people with these comorbidities, Paxlovid has been one of the things that some doctors are recommending. Not everybody, but it's like anything,
Sure.
Some doctors are recommending that. Have we seen some or heard some positive news about that?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I took Paxlovid when I had it.
Okay.
I got on it immediately after I found out I had COVID, and I got to admit it, I had COVID, toward the end of the bad times. I mean,
Right,
I say that during
right.
the 2020 and the end of 2021. But I immediately got on Paxlovid, and to be honest with you, after about a day or two, I was ready to go back to work. And that's a 5-day regimen.
Right. And it's a 5-day regimen. They say you need to be able to begin it within 5 days to begin testing.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you need to see your doctor, because if you're on certain medications, they have to pull you off of those while you're on the Paxlovid, and then you can restart them when you're done.
Right.
So, but everything that I've heard is that it works. Now,
Okay.
it's still under it's a test. It's not a
Right. It's not.
I forgot what they call it through the FDA, where they give you pre-authority, I guess.
Right. Well, yeah.
To use it, and then.
Right.
But I think the more that people get on it, it's just like the vaccine. The more people that get on the vaccine or use the vaccine, they find out that it's safe for you.
Right. And our numbers have stayed pretty steady about those that have been vaccinated.
They have. I check in with the hospital quite often to see, what the numbers are over there, because we're not collecting them anywhere else, and,
Right.
and the hospital does keep track, and the numbers have been low, but they still have some cases that go
Right.
in.
Right.
And the vaccine's still available.
Yes.
I think you can go through the drive-through on Mondays and Fridays.
Mondays and Fridays, right. And you,
To get your the bivalent is what they're calling it,
Right.
vaccine or whatever booster you need at that time. So with all the Mardi Gras going on, and you're going to be around a lot of people. You're
Yes.
around a lot more people than what you're used to.
Right. And we've had some pretty large numbers, no matter what the weather's been. We've had some really large numbers of people attending these parades.
Well, it's South Louisiana. We love being around each other. We love being with our friends and family and hanging out and having a great time. And what I saw over the weekend, everybody was having a good time. And you just need to take some precautions. One of the things I thought about is, just have some hand sanitizer around. That'll help out. And if you're serving food anyway, you probably should have some hand sanitizer out there anyway.
Right.
So as shaking everybody's hands and picking up beads and just having a great time, every once in a while walk over there and sanitize your hands and then or go inside and wash your hands just to kind of try to keep it at bay.
Right. And again, it's nice to be able to be around people. We need to still take precaution, and if you're starting to feel bad, stay home.
Yeah, as much as you like to go to the parade, and everybody likes to have a good time, you want to be around everybody, but you don't want to get everybody sick either.
Right.
So if you're not feeling well, maybe try to avoid the parade and take a test. If you come back negative from COVID, you probably, if you're not running fever, you probably don't have the flu. But
right.
And if you're having some nasal issues or whatever, you might want to wear a mask if you really think you need to go to the parade.
Right.
But just be aware that you don't want to get all the people that you're around sick.
Yeah, and just being careful and being aware of those things. And we've learned a little bit about we can keep our distance. We can wear a mask. I wore a mask because I was coughing so much.
Mm-hmm. So you only remember the times that it's raining.
Okay.
You don't remember all the good times that they have good weather. And we talked about that this weekend. It seems like Hyacinthia, it seems like on that Sunday, they always have good weather.
Yeah. And they did, and they did.
But, just last week, they had a tornado go through Tangipahoa Parish,
right.
in a little community of Tangipahoa, the village of Tangipahoa. Man, they had some significant damage from some
really
tornadoes. And it's these cold fronts that have come in, and as those cold fronts are pushing through, that warm air from the Gulf is colliding with it, and that's what creates all the issues with the severe weather and the severe thunderstorms.
Yeah, and the severe daddy long legs that end up in your house. And again, it just kind of reminds me, it's interesting. I walk out and my house is such that it faces my house doesn't face any particular direct location. So I either get northerly or southerly winds on my driveway, so my door's either slammed shut or blown wide open. No matter what, I open the door and it's either pushing back or blowing against me. So I always kind of think about that. But there are days when we have those two different winds same day.
Well, yeah, as the front comes through, so typically, we have mostly prevailing southern winds prevail mostly here on a given day. So as these fronts are pushing through, those are cold fronts that are bringing in that northern cold air, and immediately when that front passes, you feel the temperature start going down, which most of the time we appreciate that. But it just seems to be the last few, couple years. Man, we've been having some strong cold fronts come through and bring this severe weather with it.
And it's really interesting, and I don't think we always think about it for those people who are back in their homes, those people that are not in temporary housing. But we've got a little lady that I called to go and see her last week on Wednesday in the afternoon, and she said, "No, I'm not going to be here." I said, "Oh, okay." And unfortunately, she's still in one of those state trailers in her yard. She said, "I'm going to the hotel." And I thought, you know what? I didn't even think about that, but just a week before, there were tornadoes that came through. And then there was a tornado with that system, as you mentioned, in Tangipahoa Parish. Mm-hmm. And so it's just one of those things that we kind of need to kind of keep watching, keep an eye on. Our community still has a lot of people in temporary houses. In fact, some of the options that she had for a bigger trailer or a bigger mobile home, go from a trailer to a mobile home, versus having her home either knocked down or redone, they're in the process of assessing that.
Right. The Weather Service has made it fairly easy, I guess, to determine how big of a threat of the weather is going to be in your area. So now they give a threat level with a 1 through 5.
Right.
Okay. So I haven't ever seen a 5 here.
Thank God.
I have seen a 4.
Right.
And then we've been getting fairly recently
some 2s and 3s.
Some 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
And if you're in a temporary home, especially like a travel trailer or a modular home, if you're in that 3 range, you probably should find a place to go to ride out the storm until it passes. That would be pretty safe. We get a lot of 1s and 2s.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, I think tomorrow.
This week, into this week, yeah.
This week, we'll have we're probably going to be in a 2 threat level. It's good to know that it's 1 through 5.
Right.
Okay. And 50%, if you're in that 3, you probably should go take some precautions.
Right.
And even if you're in your regular permanent homes, you should monitor the weather when there's an enhanced, which is a level 3. You should monitor that weather closely.
Well, and not only that, but you also need to make sure that we're watching to see on that level 3 if we're in some tornado watch or tornado warning.
That's
right?
correct.
And that impacts that number.
That's right. And so, nowadays the majority of us carry a cell phone. There's ways to get alerts on your phone to be aware. I tell people to be weather aware. And then if they issue a tornado warning, which means there's a tornado on the ground, typically your cell phone is going to go off with this blaring noise signal that hey, there's something on the ground. There's something severe weather that's affecting your area.
Yeah. And so we're fortunate to have these Viper radars and these things that really give us an idea of what is really there and when. I mean, they can tell us when that progression is, how fast it's moving, and so they can give us these small windows when to stay away from the windows.
Yeah, the radars are so advanced now, they can pick up what they call a debris field.
Right.
And
it picks up the circulation itself.
All the debris that the tornado's picking up and swirling around, that radar
Papa's ladder
can pick up that debris.
Yeah.
And just the last few days, if you watch the weather channels and when they showing all that, you can see definitely that there's some type of circulation in those areas.
Right, and just we have the advanced awareness, like you said, the phone, the advanced awareness you always recommend. It's one of the things we'll talk about in the next segment, what we need to do in our preparation for hurricane season, which is less than 4 months away now.
When the hurricane season stops, we're planning for the next one. So. Because there's a lot of things we learned. Even though we didn't have an actual storm impact us last year, we still learn from what's going on in other places that do get impacted.
Right.
And try to make things better and say, well, what happens if that happens over here? How are we going to take care of that? So it's an all-year thing to try to prepare for that. And that's our biggest vulnerability.
Right.
For our area is the hurricane.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have to do earthquake planning because that's not a big vulnerability for us.
Right.
So knowing that we're going to have hurricanes and tropical systems, that's something that we plan on and try to update every year.
We did learn something last year about hurricanes, that if there's one in Florida, a lot of the workers are going to leave, and they're going to go over there.
Well, they're out there to make a living.
Right.
They're going to go where the storms are. And
right.
But the good thing is, though, they'll come back if there's something here. But I really don't want to see them come back. So.
No. And it's really interesting. As I think about hurricanes, it's yesterday. I have no idea. Monday, at my home, I finally had the last piece of, now short of my shutters, because I'm still waiting on the contractors to come and do the shutters, which I'm hoping are in before hurricane season. But I had the last pieces done to my house on a window that needed to be replaced. Now, it was a struggle to get it out, and broke the whole thing. The whole window broke, the rest of the window broke, because it was done very well. It was put in very well around a brick around a window. But I finally got the last piece, and so now when people ask, is the house finished? We're never going to be finished.
Yeah. Well, I had a friend of mine in Bayou Blue when the tornado went through there.
Right.
He was on the last leg of putting up his gutters, and he was going to be completed, and then the tornado came and damaged his house more. And it's like, you kind of wonder how much of that can I take.
Yeah.
But we help each other, and we keep pushing forward and take care of each other. We'll make it through those times.
Well, and quite frankly, I think communities like the one we have, with the people that are in support and in prayer, we get through almost anything. I've got a dear friend who was having some family issues and then lost her father suddenly. And so it's one of those things where we come together, we support each other, and we let people know that we love them. And so you know who you are, about making sure that we provide that support and taking care of each other. And so one of those things is we're working diligently to get people into more permanent housing, but that's still a slow process.
Yeah,
as we look at hurricanes.
It's going to be a while. It's dealing with the federal government and all making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. It just takes a little while to get all that taken care of. But help's coming. It's just
Right.
going to be a little while.
Right.
So
And we need to be prepared in the meantime, right?
In the meantime, we need to prepare for the next hurricane season. Like you said, it's 4 months away, June 1st. Now's the time to go through your kit, your hurricane kit, or what I call your evacuation kit or your go kit. Make sure everything's still nice and usable in those areas. I tell people now is a good time to stock up on some tarps if you need some. If you have family that lives somewhere else, you may want to stock some tarps over there. In the event that your house gets damaged enough and it blows your tarps away, you have a place to go get some.
Yeah.
Now, and I know it's a big topic, but you may want to review your insurance policy. I just got my renewal in this week, and there were some pages in there about some changes to the policy. And so I read over those, and there are some significant changes in there. And so now's a good time for everybody to kind of review those. At least you'll know in the event that something happens what they're going to cover and what they're not going to cover.
Yeah, we need to know. Like, don't just get it in and complain about the cost. Read it.
Right.
And just make sure, because that's our due diligence.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first thing I looked at was the total.
Right? Yeah. We look at the bottom line before we look at the small print.
But when I saw there was 12 pages attached to it, I'm like, oh, let me take a look at this. And sure enough, 4 or 5 or 6 of those pages were the changes to the policy, and some of them were significant.
Right, and we need to be aware of it.
Right.
We also need to be aware of our options.
That's correct.
So look at your options. Don't go and cancel your insurance without looking at your options. It's just one of those things that we need to be smart about. And so that's just all the things that we look at coming into this hurricane season. We'll be able to talk about that a lot more. We know that the weather's patterns are affecting us. They're gonna come through. We just need to be prepared, and we just need to be aware of it. And especially if you know that there's some people in temporary housing, if they're family members, and you're back in your house, offer some space.
Sure.
Find a way. We got really close right after the storm with some of the people we loved, and we need to kind of do that again to get them ready.
And as you're going through your kit, and when you finish doing yours, call your friends or your family and say, hey, look, I just went through mine. Don't forget to go through yours and make sure yours is where it needs to be in case you're called to evacuate somewhere else.
Right. And we want, again, those important papers. We need to have that medication lists, supply of medicines, and if you're ready or you're getting prepared and you've got your generator at home and gasoline, those kinds of things, just be thinking about that.
If you have a generator, you may make sure you have the stuff to do the maintenance on it if we were out electricity for a long time. A lot of people couldn't find spark plugs.
Right.
So now's the time to get that.
Yeah, start thinking about those things. So, Earl, we appreciate it as always. Thank you for what you and your team does through the parish, working with the parish, and just keeping us safe and prepared. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment and this Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.